Good evening and welcome to this special edition of Raconteurs News. And it's a Wednesday night. You know, we're not used to going out on a Wednesday night. We're normally Tuesdays and Fridays, but we've made an exception to that because Jason's managed to line us up with a very special guest. Good evening, Jason.
Good evening, Andy. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right. Well, it's been rather a strange day. All kinds of attacks going on from all directions, but we're still standing and we're still here. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce tonight's guest, which is the independent filmmaker, Diane Jessie Miller. Good evening, Diane.
Hello, Andy, Jason. How are you doing?
Good evening, Diane.
Thank you very much for having me on your show this evening.
No, well, after we'd seen the splash that your film was making, we couldn't really not try and get you on. And I saw the interview you did with Eleanor Crane a while back, and I thought, yeah, I'd like to talk to this lady, and Jason managed to sort it out, so here we are. So could you start by giving us a brief introduction to yourself and how you arrived where you are on your present path?
Yeah, I mean, it's been... it's been one hell of a decade, let's put it that way. I was 22, so what's that, 14 years ago, I gave up my really good job to pursue theatre because I loved it. I found it and I loved it. I then went to university to study theatre. I found myself with a scholarship to film school, so did that in 2008, and then in 2009 I decided that I wanted to write a film. I should say more to the point that the film found me. An idea presented itself and I decided to write it, and I was lucky enough to find an amazing team of people, an amazing cast, an amazing crew and friends and family that believed in me in the project and helped with the financial backing to do it. We started filming that in 2010 with a promotional film which helped us again do some crowdfunding, and then 2011 we filmed the principal photography. We got the wonderful Rik Mayall on board, which was amazing. And then, gosh, it feels like it's been a long time since then. In 2012, I decided to up sticks and move to Northern Ireland because I kind of feel that creativity is in every blade of grass here. As cheesy as that sounds, I find that people are more kind of honed to the creative side, and I love that. So I moved here in 2012, and since then I've kind of been freelancing as a filmmaker. I had a sci-fi web series, got into last year's Belfast Film Festival. Made short films, and I'm in the process of just gearing up to shoot a short film, which I'm hoping I'm going to develop into a feature towards the end of the year. So I think that is me in a nutshell. It's quite hard to talk about yourself in that kind of way, so pick away, ask questions.
Jason?
Yeah, did you you say you got a scholarship? Did you had a scholarship to New York? Did you? Is that what I read in your biography?
It's the New York Film Academy. I went out to America in 2008 with my agent to try my luck there, because I was an actress to start with. When I went to university, I wanted to be a storyteller and writer, and then it turns out I could act, which was quite nice. And then so I ended up in America, trying my hand at it there for a bit, and off the back of that, I got a scholarship to the New York Film Academy, but unfortunately I couldn't go to New York because I couldn't afford it, really. It was so expensive to go and live there for a year, but they had another school in Paris. So I went and spent 2 months in Paris studying film with people from all around the world and stuff like that, which was amazing.
I bet it was. I bet it was incredible. I mean, it was this. You said that you got into this through acting, so you found the acting bug, I'm assuming, at a pretty young age.
No, not at all. No, I kind of did a little bit of drama at school and stuff like that, but I kind of lost interest. And I was living in Reading, for anyone that knows Reading, and working in a really good job and in really good money and all the things that most people dream of having. And then I moved home to my parents to save a little bit of money for travelling. I decided I was going to go travelling. and my younger sister, who's 9 years younger than me, saw that our local theatre was doing a Shakespeare play, and she thought it might be quite nice for us to do it together as like a bonding exercise. And then while I was there, I was like, oh my God, I can't leave this ever. And within 6 months, I kind of given up my full-time job and was studying and doing ad hoc jobs just to kind of pay the bills and stuff like that. So and then when I went to university, I had to do acting as part of the course. So it was really the writing and directing I wanted to do, and I suppose I got caught up in the acting because there is, for anyone that's ever been on stage, they'll tell you that there's such a buzz with being on stage and the adrenaline and things like that. And then it was after that, it was actually when I went to film school, it was film acting that I went to study, that we were filming one of the short films, and I was so mesmerised by what the crew were doing on this short film that I suddenly went, no, this is what I want to do. I don't want to act, I want to do this, I want to be a storyteller. And that's kind of where it really started for me. So that was 2008. So yeah, and then writing One by One in 2009, that was the first film that I'd ever written. I didn't even write a short or anything like that. I went straight into a feature film, which was madness.
So really, you wanted to be a storyteller, so essentially you're a fellow raconteur. Yeah, welcome aboard.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we ought to give you a guest slot on Raconteurs News. You were saying that the story found you. Now, I've probably rather naughtily, but I've watched the film again today. And what I wanted to ask you was, is it based loosely around your own personal journey? Because you didn't just come up with that from nowhere, did you? I mean, a lot of the references in there are quite knowledgeable. And, there's a number of things that people perhaps, as is most likely the intention, is to get people questioning things. So, did the story come from organically from your experiences, or was it just completely made up?
No, I think that Dion, who is the main character, is very much kind of what I went through. Obviously, what happens to her isn't what happened to me. So they're kind of the starting point, and this whole kind of researching and finding things out that I wasn't aware of before is very much reflected in the main character. I mean, every piece of fiction that's created has to start from something factual. So, yeah.
And I suppose it takes a life of its own on anyway, because once you've created it, then it does become a living entity. Somebody who's doing that sort of thing into writing and creating a new world. And I've got to say you did it really, really well, and I really, really, really enjoyed it. Now, how fortunate are you that in your first film that you write and you're directing, how fortunate are you that you managed to get Rik Mayall on board?
I know, it's mental. It's a little bit like all the planets aligned, so everything can be just right for everything to happen. I mean, God love Rik coming on board, but everybody, like all my cast and all my crew, because most of them worked for nothing, and they gave up their time for nothing to do this because they believed either in me or the project or the passion that I was talking with the passion I was talking with it about. But yeah, Rik, I was very, very lucky to get him. I mean, I had no connection to Rik before the film. No one in the crew had any connection to Rik before the film. We were looking through the cast list, and trying to think of actors, well-known established actors that I could approach to play certain parts, because being a first-time filmmaker, dealing with such a controversial subject, for anyone to take notice, I needed someone of notoriety. And I mean, this is no disrespect to anyone's work that was involved in this project. Without Rik, I wonder how far we would have gone with it, how far people would have seen it, if that makes sense. So I think Rik does give it that notoriety that it kind of needed to be propelled into the public arena as much as it has been. I mean, I sent I thought Rik would be perfect for Ernest, because the character of Ernest is very kind of, he's like the soul of the film. He's like the soul. If you described all the characters as being body parts, then Ernest would be the soul. And
I would have said he was the conscience.
No, to me he's the soul. He's the soul of them all. He keeps them all together. He's the thing that binds them. And for me, that's how I love that you said that he's a conscience, because that's what I want. I want everyone to take different things from it. The same way if you go to the cinema, everyone takes something different from a film they see. Anyway, I've gone off on a tangent. So I wanted someone that would be really good in that part, someone that people wouldn't expect. And it was actually my old boss that went, "What about Rik Mayall?" And I went, "Oh my God, no, he's a hero. I could never work with him." And we just thought he would work really well for that part, because Rik's only ever done comedy or he's played a baddie. It's not very often he gets a goodie, let's say. And I think that was one of the things that really appealed to him as an actor, that I didn't stereotype him as a comedic role. And I think that's what made him want to do it. I sent the script to his agent on the Friday, and I got a phone call on the Monday saying Rik was interested in doing it. So, that was amazing, especially to have someone like him in it, someone that I grew up with, and watching Bottom and Young Ones and stuff like that. And then to have him tell me that he read my script and liked it, and that's why he wanted to do it. So, yeah, it's a bit weird, really.
Yeah. We just had Mithrin in the chat room saying he's been looking online for the video and he can't seem to find it. So we posted the links in there to the Indiegogo site where you can actually buy one of the DVDs. And also it's raising money for the DVD release, isn't it?
The money. The money that we're raising, there's a couple of things that covers. Like, we wanted to get this put through, for want of a better word, official channels. We wanted to make sure that it had all the right certification on it. So we've put it to BBFC, who do all the kind of the 15, 18 gradings and stuff like that. To get that kind of stamp on it. So some of the money goes towards that, and then obviously some of the money goes towards making the DVDs and doing the artwork and everything like that, and then posting them out. So our original target was £1,100, which would have covered everything, and then everything else. I can't believe how much. I didn't even think we'd get that much. So the fact that we're currently sitting at 188%, it means there's more money raised, which is amazing for us, because, like I've said, everybody's worked for free on this project. We would not have been able to make this film if it wasn't for friends or friends of friends who kind of invested money in the project. The minimum investment was £1,000, and this film was made on 25,000. So, we did some fundraising and I put my own money in, but a vast majority of that money would not have been raised without these people giving their hard-earned money. And so my kind of commitment, and Ash, my co-producer, our kind of drive is to give them back the money that they put in, and then to give the cast and crew something, because as much as I'd like to live in a system that wasn't money based, it is, and we still need money to put food on the table or a roof overhead and things like that. So yeah. I'm slightly overwhelmed by it all. I think I didn't expect that many people to. I've had friends and family buy the DVD on the Indiegogo site, but in total we've had like 150 contributors, and I don't know half of them. And for me, that's an amazing thing to kind of, like, I've always said from the start of making this film will only get out there with other people being involved, getting involved in it, and part of that is now kind of people buying the DVD, talking about it, getting it out into the ether, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, brilliant. It's something that I think everybody should see, and I think it's a great legacy for Rik Mayall himself. I grew up like you. I grew up with Rik Mayall. The Young Ones is when I was a teenager. The only thing I really didn't like that he was in was Bottom, which seems to be everybody else's I loved Bottom. That was because that was kind of what I grew up with. Bottom Live, the first one. I don't think I could do it now, but when I was in my teens, I could quote every single line from it. And the same is for my co-producer Ash Parker. He's the same. So yeah, he's like Rik is. Sorry, was he should be knighted. Should have been knighted anyway.
He reminded me in your film you see, I don't understand why he wasn't used as a serious actor more than he was, because he was a real proper. I mean, to be a comedy actor of the caliber of him, you've got to be a good actor.
Exactly, I've always said that. If you can act comedy, you can act anything.
Yeah,
and I truly believe that. And like you said, it was. For him to do something that different, I can't believe not other people have done that, or other people did that.
He did bring whilst you said he was the soul and the conscience, and I said the conscience of the film. I do think that he had that sort of semi-sinister twinkle in his eye and that look in his eye, and I think he just played it. It's not overstated. It's not understated.
Yeah.
He just plays it just right. Yeah. Like I say, I've been I was completely obsessed with the New Statesman when he did that. I mean, I could quote everything from that. I mean, I just loved it, and I even sent Andy a speech earlier on that he did on. It was a European Union thing, and it's where he's saying, how can this country who won wars, and how can we kowtow to Europe, which gave us Hitler, Napoleon, and the Smurfs, and that sort of just summed it up for me, But I thought he brought that also slightly sinister twist to his part as well. You were always guessing as to his motives.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean by being the soul. He's kind of always watching, always present, is always, I suppose conscience and soul. He's there, he's the guide almost to, I mean, lots of things that his lines that he said are quite profound, I think. And I wrote it that way. I wanted everything that Ernest as a character said to be kind of like talking to a mystic or talking to a guru or a sage or something like that. So, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, God, I was just about to say something. And it just completely fell out of my head. Completely. I've just gone all completely blank.
I have to say, Jason, looking at you, you've got a little bit of Aid Edmondson about you. I don't know if it's just the light of where you're at, but you have got a bit of an Aid Edmondson about you.
Yeah, that was my other mate who was Aid Edmondson. I was always Rik Mayall.
Yeah.
Bit of Aid Edmondson, perhaps a bit of Bren Emlyn Jones, and a little bit of Richie Allen thrown in there.
Thanks very much for that, Andy. I really appreciate that. You're a great guy. I'm a great guy. Diane's a great guy. She's got a great film. What I was going to say, so I'd never heard of your film. It was shot in 2011. Did you say that you shot? You started it in 2000, wrote it in 2009. It was shot in 2011. I'd never heard of it, and of course, I would imagine a lot of people. It came to prominence for a lot of people after Rik had passed away. What was that sort of time like? How did you hear about it, and how did you react to it, and what? How did how did the cast feel, and how did you?
I think it was an incredibly. It's hard to put it into words. It's when you lose anybody that you've spent time with. It's hard to deal with it. I mean, when you're working on a film like us, I mean, One by One was shot in 25 days, and 10 days were back to back, which was when most of the filming was done in August 2011, and we were all on set for 16 plus hours a day trying to get it all shot. So you do kind of get this family vibe, and you do feel like you've lost a family member. I mean, I spent quite a lot of time with Rik on set, obviously working with him as the director, but then I spent a bit of time with him after we finished filming. And sorry, I'm trying not to get choked up.
That's okay.
I do feel like I lost a very good friend, and I remember getting the phone call, and oddly, I was actually in a radio station when I got the phone call, and I think if I remember rightly, I had my suitcase with me because I was about to get on a plane to fly back to England to bury my grandmother, and I couldn't. I think I cried all the way back to England. I didn't want to believe. I couldn't believe it. I was like, he can't. He's so young, and I think that sent shockwaves through everybody. Not just everyone involved in the film, but in the general public and stuff like that. I think that there was this massive kind of universal, oh no, not Rik. So yeah, I mean, it was very hard for the cast, and I spoke with lots of them afterwards. And I mean, when you, like I've said, when you work with someone so closely, it does have a deep impact on you, and it is like you lose a friend. So, and I think that, I mean, Ash and I made the conscious decision that we were going to do nothing. We put out a statement about our loss of Rik, and then we did nothing for a month out of respect. We didn't want anyone to think that we were going to jump on a bandwagon of him dying, because I wouldn't want to do that. I think that would be a dishonour to his memory and a dishonour to the work that he has done. And I mean, I suppose that when Rik did die, lots of people tried to find any work that he'd done and watch any of that. And I mean, we were never mentioned in any press after his death at all. And I don't know why that was. I mean, we weren't particularly hard to find. I mean,
I think you might be able to guess why.
Yeah, well, maybe there's always speculation everywhere. I mean, we're on IMDb, and anyone that knows film, the International Movie Database, you can search on any actor or any film and find anything. And I mean, we were on there. We were always on there. So I'm not quite sure why we weren't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. We are here where we are. And there was a second part to your question, and I can't remember what it was. So I'm now like rambling. So please help me.
I was just... how did it affect other members of the cast and crew? And I would imagine at some point you maybe met up with a few of them. And after, like you say, you didn't do anything for a month, then I would imagine things started happening and people started to come towards you.
They did, but not as much as I thought they would. I mean, it was at that point that we kind of... I think we wanted... Suddenly the film took on a different onus. It wasn't just about getting out a piece of drama, because that's what it is, it's a piece of drama, but it was suddenly like I wanted to, and Ash wanted to, share it with all of the Rik fans, because we wanted them to see this side of him. I mean, when Rik was working on One by One, he quite often said, and quite openly said, he wanted to be the next Anthony Hopkins. And I think... looking at his performance in One by One, that was completely within his reach. So, I mean, yeah, I kind of hoped that it would, but we kind of contacted lots of Facebook groups that dealt with Rik and made some wonderful, lovely contacts through those pages. And but yeah, I think that actually knocked us harder than I probably thought it did at the time. I mean, it took us a long time to kind of deal with that. So, yeah.
We've got a question from Luby Lou in the chat room, Diane, and she's asking, has Diane had any negative comeback due to subjects covered in One by One?
Of course. Mm-hmm. Of course. I think some of the negatives have been about why do I not put it up for free? Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping I've covered that now with like people giving their money and everyone working for free, and I want to give back something if I can. The other negative kind of comments have been about Rik dying and was I responsible for it because of the subject matter of the film, which, as I'm sure you can imagine, there's nothing worse than being asked if you killed Rik Mayall. Mm. And if I thought that Rik was killed because of this film, hand on heart, I absolutely don't believe that was even on the remit, because I mean, if anyone wanted to stop this film getting out there, they would have just killed me or Ash or both of us. We were together often enough. So, I mean, that came up. But, yeah, I mean, there has been negative. I mean, with any kind of piece of drama, people don't like it. I mean, the three of us, and is it Lucy Lou or Loopy Lou that's on the...
Loopy Lou.
That the four of us could go and watch the same film, two of us could love it, and the other two go, well, that's the biggest pile of crap I've ever seen. And that's what makes entertainment so good, is that what one person likes, another person won't. So, I mean, as a general rule, the feedback and the kind of views of people have been very positive, which, as a filmmaker, you can't ask more than that. I mean, films and people's views are opinions, and as we know, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one, so...
Absolutely. And as I can't remember who the guest was that was on with us. I think it might have been Tom Crawford many months ago. He said, you only ever start drawing flack when you're directly over the target. So you must be doing some good out there if you're getting some flack. And that's the way we look at it when we get people mudslinging.
Oh, thank you. That's a really good way to look at it, because I am quite a sensitive little soul. I have to say that I do take things very personally, and I do wear my heart on my sleeve. And sometimes it's quite hard to take some of the things that people say. And my partner and Ash will tell you that there has been more than one occasion where I've wept over things people have said. And I know that I need to grow tougher skin, but I'm 36 now. I don't think I'm going to change. Not that part of me, anyway.
It is going to be difficult, and I can imagine it's, especially when you're not used to it. You're not used to it, and then suddenly everybody's sort of got an opinion. Everybody's telling you what they think, and some of those are bound to be negative. I was just wondering, was there anything that you left out of the film that you thought, perhaps we shouldn't put that in? Or
only because I made crappy directing choices. I mean, as a director or as a writer, when you... this was my first film, and I'm immensely proud of it. And as you said, and other people have said, it's a bit of a legacy. But don't get me wrong, there are parts of the film where I cringe now and I go, oh, I wish I'd done that different, both as a writer and both as a director. So, yeah, there are deleted scenes, and they will be on the DVD. So, and they weren't taken out so much because of the content. I think they were taken out because of they didn't add anything to the overall story. And I think as a writer and director, you have to always keep the story in your forefront, and to coin a phrase, you have to kill your darlings. It might be the most beautiful scene you've ever created, but if it does nothing to the story, you got to get rid of it. So yeah.
Yeah, there's always going to be parts that you need to delete, and there's always going to be parts. And I thought as well, what is it? 1 hour, an hour and a half. I thought it was just the right amount of time as well. Yeah. And it had the thing that really bugs me about films these days. If I watch one, and it's very rare that I'll watch a film that's a fictional film, then it had an ending. There was a definite ending, and it was there, and that was the end, and that was definitely it. And we don't get that anymore. You sort of like get things just sort of straying off to somewhere so that perhaps they can make another sequel or whatever. But I thought it was just the right amount of time, and it ended as well, which was awesome.
Thank you very much. I mean, that wasn't the edit that actually went out. Wasn't the first edit we put together. The first edit we put together was about an hour and 50 minutes, and the one we've got now is an hour and 28 without credits. So it was like half an hour longer than it is now. And we did a little kind of screening of that not long after we I say not long, I'm trying to remember when that was, and people just found it really boring in places. It kind of dragged in places. So that's when we kind of went back to re-edit it, and we ended up with this version. I mean, Nicholas Pill, who was the director of photography and the editor and the guru of One by One. He could tell you every scene and every bit of dialogue in the whole thing. Did an amazing job of editing it to make it carry the story. Again, that goes back to killing my darlings and not putting things in there that aren't necessary. And then obviously you've got Simon Norman's score on top of it, which really, really is he did an amazing job on it too. So, yeah.
We've got a comment from Tony in the chat room. He's saying it would make a great gift for anyone who needs a wake-up call, and I'm inclined to agree with that.
Thank you very much. Well, I mean, it's good that Tony said that, actually, because I've had a couple of people that have said, I want more than one copy of this. I want to give it to people. And I actually had one woman order 5 copies of it because she wants to give it to her friends and family. And I suppose that was part of the idea behind it, is that, I mean, there are lots, and I mean an overwhelming amount of documentaries and books and things that you can do to kind of research any of the subject matters, and mountains more than we talk about in the film. But there hadn't been, and I still believe there aren't, any fiction films with those ideas that deal with them right at the forefront as the main part of it. And I think that's what makes our film unique, and that's what I wanted. I wanted to get it into average Joe's hands and him watch it just thinking it's going to be a piece of entertainment, and then to go, oh, hang on a minute, I don't agree with that, or oh god, I didn't know that, and start looking for themselves. That was kind of the whole idea. I mean, we quite often just live our lives day to day, and I'm just as guilty as the next person of living our lives day to day without really seeing what's there and what's really going on. And I think that, or I hope that if my film gets into the hands of one person that starts to look at the world differently, then I've done what I set out to do. So that's kind of what I wanted.
Yeah, we've been asked the question, who are you talking to, what are you trying to achieve? And for me, it's pretty much the same thing. If every time we go on air, we manage to make one person look at life differently and perhaps realise something they didn't realise before, then I feel we're doing what we set out to do. Yeah. Obviously, if you get more people than that, it's a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, it's absolutely, it's sparking a debate, and I think that's kind of what I wanted. And I think that anyone that's kind of in these kind of arenas is trying to do, and it's finding the means to get people talking, because that's kind of how things change. I mean, you just got to look at all the kind of the greatest movements of life, like the civil rights movements and things like that. They didn't start with weapons or fighting. They started with words and getting other people seeing things differently. And I think what's the saying? The pen will always be mightier than the sword. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that.
Yeah, apparently written by Shakespeare, or was it Sir Francis Bacon? We don't know.
I think so. Well, that's it. There's lots of theories behind Shakespeare as well, so don't get me started on that. I could go off on a massive rant about that as well.
Well, it's obvious you've got some similar ideas to ourselves and probably most of the people listening regarding what's going on in the world and things. Now, most people are usually sparked by some sort of catalyst in their life. What was it that first got you into seeing how things were and how things weren't quite how they appeared?
My bloody best friend. He said to me, I've got he's seen 2 documentaries, and he said he really wanted me to see them. And one of them was Zeitgeist Addendum, and the other one was Home by Jan Arthurus Bertram. I'm probably saying that horribly wrong, and I mean, I watched Zeitgeist and was like, whoa, what is this I'm watching? And I had to watch it a couple of times afterwards. And then I watched Home, which, if anyone hasn't seen it, it's I mean, it's one of the most beautiful films, beautifully tragic documentaries I've ever seen, and I think I wept uncontrollably about it at that point. And then there was other stuff going on with my grandfather. My grandfather is like my hero, not like my hero, he is my hero, and he has worked all of his life in a system and paid into a system that was suddenly trying to screw him out of his pension. And I think that was... I wanted to punch someone, and I'm not a punchy person. So I think that those three things combined, and then after watching those documentaries and talking about them with my best friend, Paul Spence, we then began to drink vodka and sambuca, and the concept for One by One was formed. So yes, One by One is the smatterings of vodka and sambuca fueled nights. So yeah.
No wonder Rik liked it.
Yeah, we've got Babushka. Babushka's actually a photographer and artist herself, and she says it's raw and it's real. We need more films of that quality. It's as rare as rocking horse shit nowadays.
Oh, thank you very, very... Oh, thank you. That's an amazing thing to say. Thank you. And I mean, I really take that as a compliment, because that's kind of one of the things that I try to do with any of the other films that I've made. I mean, I've been quite lucky in the projects that I've done, and I'm now just gearing up to hopefully make my second feature. I'm going to film a short in October, which I want to turn into the feature, which is kind of an apocalyptic film, but not one that's ever been done before. I like doing things a bit differently. And yeah, I really like that. I think I like things that have time to breathe and aren't all kind of CGI'd or, as you said, Jason, that have an end. Every story has a beginning, middle and end. Make it very clear. So yeah, like I said, I'm a storyteller, and I hope that I can do that through very beautiful images. So.
Mm-hmm. And we've got Luby Lou asking, when is Out of Darkness out on DVD, please? I so want to watch it.
Oh, Out of Darkness? Oh my goodness. Out of Darkness is not going to go out on DVD because it's only 2.5 minutes long.
Oh.
It's a very short film. Myself and my partner, we're both filmmakers, and last year we decided to get together and film 5 short films back to back on no money and see what we would create. So they are ready to go out, but what we've done is try to submit them to film festivals, because that's kind of what in the indie filmmaking, you kind of have to make a film and try and get it into a film festival to get some kind of feedback, so your name gets known, so you can start funding to make other films. So we're just waiting to hear back from a couple of festivals, and as soon as we hear either way, if we don't get into any festivals, we've already made the decision, we're going to put them up online. But bear with us. There is a Facebook page for that. It's facebookpage.com/project100. So it's 5 kind of short films back to back. So they're all, well, they're kind of interlink.
Excellent. We just had a message to say, what's that clicking noise in the background? I think it's your pen there. It's coming across quite loud.
I'm sorry. It's a nervous habit. I'm putting it away. I'm so sorry. Whoever that is, I'm putting it away.
No worries.
Forgive me. It's not anyone trying to tap in. It's just me playing with a pen.
Oh, we're getting a bit paranoid after today, but hey, no.
No, it's just
Jeff
me.
asks a great question, and I wish I'd thought of it myself. He asks, what was Rik's off-camera opinion on the subjects, for example, 9/11?
To be brutally honest, I didn't have time to ask him because it's mental. Like I said, it's 16 hours a day, and it is grueling. I mean, it's not just working with Rik, it's working with all the other actors and all the crew and everything like that. I didn't actually have any conversations with him on those subjects. I mean, anything we talked about off camera was kind of about his role or about how I was doing. He was very kind of caring and wanted me to do my job well. So if I'm brutally honest, we never really approached anything like that. I mean, I can't even speculate to know where his thoughts lie on something like 9/11.
Well, he must have been doing it for the money then.
if there was any, I would agree with you. But no, I don't know. He liked the script, and I mean that this is just speculation here. If you don't, as an actor, someone like Rik, you don't pick a script unless you like it. So there had to be something in there that he really, really liked. I mean, I do know for a fact that one of the lines is a scene about 9/11 in the film, for anyone that's not seen it. And there's one line in that film, in that scene, that was the main reason he chose to do the film. And the line was, if a picture says 1,000 lies, then our eyes can see 1,000... Hang on. If a picture says 1,000 words... It
tells 1,000 words.
Then our eyes can see 1,000
lies. Yeah.
See it to believe it. And that was kind of... I think was one of the reasons. I mean, that whole scene... Oh my God, that whole scene was a nightmare because we had overrun previously on the scene before that, and that was due to be filmed from 8 in the evening till midnight, and we got to midnight and we hadn't even started that scene, and I said to Rik, you've got to go home. I've got to send you home now. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere, I'm doing the scene. This is the reason I'm doing this film. So we stayed until 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was something very magical about doing that scene and everybody wanting to be there to finish it and to get it right. And I mean, you can clearly see it. I don't want to say anything because I don't want to give it away. In fact, I'm going to stop. Before I give anything away. But there's a prop that's used in that scene that has been coloured in, and we all sat there, including Rik, colouring it in because of product placement. So you'll see it. You'll see it when you watch it, and know that sitting there colouring in at 2 o'clock in the morning with Rik Mayall was one of the most surreal experiences I've ever had.
There was one particular scene that I thought was beautifully shot. It was when the young lady sat down with a laptop and started doing research, and then behind her is sort of projected images, and I thought that was really beautifully shot. And it also went into a close-up, which you didn't really notice the close-up. You were so mesmerised by the whole shot. I just thought that was a brilliant piece of cinematography. Is that the word?
Yeah. Well, it's a special effect. It's a special effect because that was put on afterwards. So, I mean, I always liked that scene and the way it worked. And originally there was nothing behind her. And then a friend of mine suggested that maybe you should put something. And I was like, oh, that's a good idea. Because I'm very kind of... I like people giving their ideas, and sometimes I'll use them, sometimes I won't. And that was kind of one of the things that went with it. Now, I've got a question for you about that scene. Did you like the music?
I did. I mean, to be fair, I can't really remember it, so I think that it must have perfectly complemented what I was seeing, because it wasn't offensive to me, and it sort of just seemed to complement rather than impose itself on it.
Good. I'm so glad I asked you that question first before I said this, because that is me singing on the track.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Yeah. You'll hear my voice sneak up a lot in the film. There's quite a few kind of little bits where, and you see me, I do a little cameo in it and stuff like that. I try and do a cameo in everything that I do. So, yeah.
Well, if you ever need original music or anything like that for your films, we've got a couple of people that are musicians that are part of, close associates of ours here at Raconteurs News. They write and produce their own music, truth music and stuff like that. So if you ever need anything, come banging on us door. Or alternatively, if you need a dashing Aid Edmondson look-alike. or perhaps me and Tony could come along and we could be the Mitchell brothers.
Oh yeah.
So how are the other members of the cast going along now? I mean, have they been involved in any other projects? Other things for them?
Duncan, who well, hang on, let me think about this. It's hard. Yes is a short answer. Duncan Wigman, who plays John in 1 by 1, now is in New Zealand, and he's a glacier tour guide, which is completely different from doing 1 by 1. Wow. But he's doing exactly what he wants, and he loves life. Sean Mayer, who plays Jeff, he's still trying and he's such a good actor. He hasn't just had that lucky moment yet, so I'm excited for him when that happens. So that's The Boys. And Katrina Nair, she has been doing lots of kind of bits and bobs. She was the face of on one of the faces for EasyJet last year. She was in Casualty a couple of weeks ago, and oddly she did this massive advert campaign and was on the side of buses, and the only time I knew that is when I was stood in the town near me, because I live in Northern Ireland, and I saw her face go past on a bus, and I think I scared everyone half to death that was next to me, because I just went ah, ah! And that, I think I made them jump. And then beautiful Heather Wilson, who plays Dion. I mean, that girl needs an Oscar. She's incredible. And she's, again, like every other actor, plugging away and just looking for a lucky break. And I just hope that comes for her, because, I mean, Heather and I went to school together. She was a year below me at school. So it was quite nice to... And Heather and I had always got on, so it was really nice to be able to offer that part to her. And excuse me, give it the sensitivity that it needed. I mean, we called Heather, because Heather's surname is Wilson, we called her One Take Winner Wilson, because so many of the shots that we did of her were done in one take, and there was no kind of repeating what she did, and she was awesome to work with. I loved. I'm putting the pen down. I'm playing with the pen again. Sorry, I'm going to throw it across the bedroom. So yes, no, she was amazing. So that's kind of what they're all doing now. Yeah.
Well, Jason.
Sorry, go on.
Jason, you mentioned about you and Tony being the Mitchell brothers. He said it looks like he's up for that, but he says you can be the short, fat, drunk one. Well, you were saying about needing an Ade Edmondson lookalike. I mean, you've made your telly debut this week, or last week. You was on Panorama, wasn't you? So,
listen, I made my telly debut a long time ago. I made my telly debut, first of all, on Channel 4's Right to Reply back in 1997. Oh. And also, this ties in as well, because in 2007, I was on The Weakest Link. And when I got on the train from Sheffield and I got into London and I got off the train, I bumped into Rik Mayall.
How weird.
I bumped into Rik Mayall and I went, "Oh my God, you're Rik Mayall." I said, "I'm so pleased to meet you. I'm a huge fan." And he sort of, and he looked at me and then I just said to him, I says, "I don't need an autograph or anything." I said, "I don't need to prove to anybody, meeting you's enough." And I went, and just as I went, and he went, "You're awesome." And I just buggered off because I didn't bother with. I didn't need an autograph. I didn't need a picture, or a selfie or stuff like that. I just met him. That's all I wanted. That was enough for me. So So I've been on TV plenty of times.
Talking of what you said about Rik, Rik was amazing at meeting the general public from the experience of working on One by One. I mean, we shot a lot of it in a working cafe right on a high street of Wokingham, and we only would film after their business shut. They were open kind of 9 until 4. And we quite often start the day, this is when I was a smoker, standing outside, smoking, chatting about what we were going to do. And the amount of, the general public that would come up and be like, "Oh, Rik!" and make him go, "Woof!" or something like that. And Rik would just instantly fall in to their characters, one of the characters that they liked. And he was always so lovely with the general public. And I think that he had a massive heart. He was so caring. I think that he always kind of knew where he came from. I mean, I'm speculating when I say that. I don't know for a fact. But I always got the impression that he knew that his fans were, so important to him. So I just got a text message from my boyfriend telling me to stop clicking the pen. So apologies to everybody. Yeah, there you go.
We've got a pen clicker.
I've thrown it away. It's a nervous habit. I don't know why. Yeah.
Not a problem.
Midrin's been on TV as well.
What has, sorry?
Midrin in the chat room said that he's been on TV. Midrin, is it a male or a female, Andy? I'm sorry.
Mithrin, I believe, is male.
Is male?
Yeah.
He made his TV debut in the background at King's Cross Station in a programme about prostitutes.
Oh.
So, There you go.
That'd be interesting, yeah. Yeah.
So, Woking, you said it was that bit was shot in Woking, and Wokingham's not on the coast, is it? Because there was wasn't it? I was going to ask you.
It was set in a non-fictional. Sorry, it was set in a fictional seaside-y town. That's where it was set.
Okay. And the seaside scenes were Brighton?
Oh, no, they weren't Brighton, but they were near there. That's what I'm going to say. They were near Brighton.
Fair enough.
Guerrilla filmmaking. I think it was during filming that someone once said to me, if you stand with one foot on the road and one foot on the path, they can't do anything because they don't know if they need to phone the traffic police or the normal police to make you move along. So we spent quite a lot of time, one foot on the road, one foot on the curb.
Oh, that's worth knowing, yeah.
I don't know how true that was, or true that is, but it was worth doing. So, yeah.
It's such a brutal industry, and in order to get an independent film recognised anywhere, never mind one that's got the subject matter that you're portraying in your film, even though you've got Rik Mayall on board, which gives you that boost. It is a very, very brutal and unforgiving industry. Now, how do you cope with that? How do you live with that? And how do you hold on to what makes it worth doing?
Blind faith. Blind faith is the only thing that you can kind of do. I don't want to do anything else for the rest of my life. I want to be a storyteller. I want to make films, and I'm going to do it come hell or high water. So, and it is a tough industry. I mean, I don't know the exact statistics, but I do believe kind of Sundance this year had something like 8,050 short film applications, and about 20 got through. Now I don't know all those figures, but that's kind of the ratio of trying to get breakthrough into it. I mean, it's tough. I mean, I've seen some incredible short films that never get, or feature films that never get kind of any notoriety, and even like indie films that have, for example, there's a film called Blue Valentine, with Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams, both well-known kind of actors in Hollywood. They shot this independent film on and off, and it took 12 years to film it and get it out there. And that is the nature of the beast. I mean, you've just got to know you want to do it, and I do. Blind faith. I mean, I do what jobs I have to do to keep the roof above my head and food on the table, but I do those jobs so that I can go out and shoot a short film or start working towards a feature, things like that. Blind faith.
Mm-hmm.
And thick skin.
Excellent. I mean, it has occurred to me that if your subject matter in a film one by one were different, then surely it would have been an awful lot bigger and would have been seen by a much larger audience. Are you glad that you stuck to the subject as it came to you? Yeah. Of
course, yeah. I mean, the moment you start selling out, you sell out. Do you know what I mean? And I mean, I like the stories that I write. I mean, most of the stories and scripts that I write will never see the light of day, and I write because I find that very therapeutic, and I like creating those sorts of stories. But yeah, I would not give up my artistic integrity just to get a film made. What's the bloody point? It's selling out. It's giving up your soul. You may as well put it in a box and sell it to the devil if you're going to do that.
Talking of selling your soul to the devil, Mithrin's asking, do you have an Illuminati pass?
Do I have an Illuminati pass? I don't even know what an Illuminati pass is, so I'm going to say no.
Oh well, stick around, you might get one. If you hang around with Jason long enough, you might easily get one.
No, you're going to have to explain what it is now, because otherwise I'm not going to know it if it comes and smacks me in the face. What's an Illuminati pass?
I presume it's a pass to get into the Illuminati's secret parties and rituals.
No, I don't want to do that. I don't party anymore for a start, and who'd want to party with those lot? So, no, I don't.
Yeah, but on the subject of what we were talking about before, you couldn't really have sold out anyway, because if the subject matter had been different, then perhaps you wouldn't have got Rik Mayall on board. Perhaps the film would have been made and it wouldn't have been the film that it is.
Exactly. I mean, stories are a funny thing. Like, no one knows where an idea comes from. I mean, like, something I've written recently is so dark and twisted, but I'm quite a nice, lovely person. So where does that come from? And it's that kind of thing. It's like you never know where ideas come from. You just get something. Like sometimes you have one thing and you go, oh, that's quite good, and then another thing will kind of pop into your head, and then they'll start marrying together, and you suddenly, this whole idea and this story develops, and you're like, God, where did that come from? So it's, I mean, I say that One by One found me because I believe that it did. I mean, I watched the films, I drank a lot of vodka and Sambuca, and then the story started with Spencer and I talking about stuff, and then I ran with it, and 7 years later, here we are getting it on DVD. Do you know what I mean? It's, yeah, persistence is key.
Persistence and belief, like you said, blind faith and belief, and if you believe something enough, then you're going to be able to get it. You're going to be able to get it. Well, we know you are. Okay. Simple as that. Well, its first hour's gone pretty quick.
It has gone quick. Yeah,
it took about an hour. So I think we're probably about ready for a music break and have a bit of a stretch, and perhaps go and Trump or what have you, and so we'll have a bit of a music break, Andy. What do you think? And then we'll get back with Diane Jessie Miller after we've had a bit of a record, and we'll find out what's next for her and what her plans for the future are.
Okay, we'll be right back after this one from The Twang in just over 4 minutes. And welcome back to Raconteurs News, bringing you untwisted, unsweetened news on raconteursnews.com. And while Diane's finishing making a cup of tea, I'd just like to mention that we are quite new, as most of you are probably aware, and we're looking to do some big things here, and we've got guests, we've got other hosts coming on board all the time, and we're looking at setting up a broader platform for other hosts, set up our own radio station, if you like, and for that we do need some money, I'm afraid. At the minute we're all self-financed. We have had one or two generous donations, but if you'd like what we do and you'd like to help us out, there's two options really. You can either click on the website raconteursnews.com and go to the shop, and there are t-shirts available which we've had printed with Raconteurs News, modelled by an awfully good-looking young man there. And if you don't want a t-shirt and you've got a few quid to spare that you'd like to help us out with, we've got a donate button on the homepage, and any money that's donated will be used towards improving the service we provide. So thank you for that, and we'll say welcome back, Diane.
Hello. Sorry, I was making a cup of tea.
No problem. You've got your tea sorted now.
I have, thank you.
Okay. So we did get a question in the break while we were away, and it was from... Oh, the chat room's going backwards and forwards. It was from Nolan. Nolan's asking, what does Diane think of the shit churned out by Hollywood? Bit of leading question there.
It is a bit of a leading question. I don't think all of it's shit. I think a vast majority of it's shit, but that's just because I have an opinion, and like I said earlier, opinions are like arseholes, and everyone's got one. I mean, I can't actually remember the last time I watched a good film from Hollywood. I'm trying to think. I mean, don't get me wrong, I choose what I watch. I have not been connected to a TV aerial since 2009, and I've made that choice. That was my choice to make, but I do have Netflix, so I do choose the crap that I watch.
Have you watched, speaking of Netflix, have you watched Making a Murderer?
I watched pretty much all of it in one day. all of it pretty much in one day. Yeah, an amazing documentary. There are some good films that have come out of that I've really enjoyed. The last film I went to the cinema to see was Star Wars, and I loved Star Wars. I mean, I didn't really watch Star Wars properly until last year, and which people are going to go, what? And I loved it. I thought it was really nice to see a film with practical effects and not loads of CGI and stuff like that. So, and then there's some really nice kind of indie films that have been coming out. I mean, there's a film called Another Earth, which was on Netflix. I don't believe it's on there now, which is an incredible indie film. If you get a chance to see it, watch it. It's like beautiful. And I hope I've answered that question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I mean, sorry, go ahead, Jason.
Jason.
Okay. Do you know, I've forgotten now. That's what I was going to say. It seems now more like Hollywood is more of a production line than it is anything really creative.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I mean, there are some films that tick boxes, but there are some very good films coming out of Hollywood. I mean, I've not actually seen it, but the concept behind Disney Pixar's Inside Out is amazing. Disney Pixar have done some very good films in the last 10 years that have made statements. I mean, WALL-E, what an amazing statement that made on the state of the world and things like that. And I mean, there are so many films coming. I mean, you just got to look at the cinema listings every week. There's more and more coming out. But then you've got to kind of think about indie films that are kind of trying to get, for example, locally, The Survivalist. Michael Finkelton just went out into cinemas. Brilliant film. You've got The Witch that was just released, which I didn't get to see yet because it wasn't in a local cinema. But all those sorts of things, I mean, they're not Hollywood driven, but they are films. And I mean, I think that if you're going to watch a Hollywood blockbuster that's been made on 200 million, I don't even know how much money that is, 200 million, then you need to equally watch something made on 100,000 just to see the difference. I think the difference is that you get what you pay for, kind of, I suppose. I mean, 200 million, you know, it's going to be packed full of special effects, I guess. And if it's 100,000, you know, it's going to have story at the heart of it. So I think that you should kind of try everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, you said about you get people not really believing you when you say you haven't seen Star Wars. I haven't seen any Star Wars films ever, and I've not seen E.T. either. I'm probably the only person I know on this planet who's not seen either of those movie franchises. But you know, I survived quite well without it. I mean, I think, to be honest, the last Hollywood movie I watched was the Matrix trilogy. I've probably watched it half a dozen times now because every time I watch it, I see something new. And to me, if I can only watch a film once and think, oh, then it's not worth watching. But if I can watch a film and think, oh, I need to watch that again because I think I missed a few things, then that, to me, is something that's really worth watching.
Well, that's the dream as a filmmaker, to create a film or a story that you have to watch more than once because you'll get something new from it every time. I mean, One by One is laden with symbolism that lots of people still haven't got on its second or third watching. So it's looking for those sorts of things, which, I mean, when the DVD's released, there's a video commentary and deleted scenes and stuff going to be on it. There are things you've got to think about. And I mean, you talk about The Matrix. I mean, The Matrix wouldn't have got made without Hollywood money. And I mean, it is one of those catch-22 situations. I understand what you're saying about kind of the mass-produced shite that can come out of Hollywood. But then without that money, there would be no film industry, because all those other kind of, you just got to think about all the people that work in Hollywood that have their own smaller independent companies that then create and go on to do something. For example, look at Peter Jackson. I mean, he started out with a tiny film that became a bit of a cult classic, and suddenly he's making epic films like Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, which are, I don't know if you've watched them, they are beautiful storytelling. And like I've kind of said from the start, I've always been about kind of storytelling. And I mean, The Hobbit, and what an amazing book The Hobbit is, and to be able to actually put it on screen in that way is just amazing.
I read the book at school, but I've not seen any of the films. So
the films are very good, and I mean, it's like with anything, there kind of has to be a middle ground. You kind of have to see everything as much as you possibly can to kind of get a feel. I mean, we've all got our own ideals, we've all got our own kind of tastes about things, and some of us like it, some of us don't. Some of it's mass-produced shite, some of it isn't. You kind of got to see an array of things to kind of like appreciate all of it, I suppose. For example, on Netflix there's a TV series called The Killing, which if you haven't watched it, watch it. It's beautiful. And you kind of, if you put The Killing next to something like CSI, for example, CSI does investigates one crime, maybe two, per episode. The Killing does one crime over 2 series. And it's so beautiful, and it really takes the time. And I think that's kind of, for me, that's kind of the difference personally between good cinema and shite cinema or film. And that's things that just are constantly in your face, and you've got to watch it and you don't know kind of where you're going, opposed to things that have time to breathe. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do like a good action movie. So yeah.
Oh wow. Unique Lee's saying, if you like fantasy, the Shannara Chronicles has a nice spin.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
No, I haven't.
No. Shannara, could we have the spelling of that?
Yeah, sure.
Although I've thrown my pen away, so I can't bloody write it down.
Oh, I'll copy it into the chat box for you.
Thank you.
It's SHANNARA.
Okay.
Right, let's
I'll check that out.
There we go. Whoops.
Shannara Chronicles. Is that on telly or is that a movie? Do we know?
It's a series, I think he said. If you like fantasy, so I would imagine it's either a TV series or...
Yeah, I'll have a look and check it. I mean, I'd be wrong to say that I don't like anything, because I think when it comes to film stuff, I like everything. I can't think of a particular genre that I'm not a fan of. Apart from porn, I'm not a fan of that, but there's not really much of a story there. So every other kind of genre I'm a fan of. I mean, you just kind of got to watch everything and enjoy the art as a kind of a whole medium. And I mean, there are some really shite high budget films, but there are also some shite low budget films as well. I mean, in indie film, lots of films kind of have standard kind of stories. Kind of everyone kind of seems to do like a gangster story or that kind of thing. So I mean, everyone's trying to be the next Tarantino, so by doing another kind of Reservoir Dogs, it's that kind of thing. So I mean, you have to wade through a lot of shit to find the good stuff, and I mean, just keep wading, make sure you've got big boots on.
Yeah, well, it's obviously you've got a real passion for wading through that.
Seriously, I've sat through so many shit films, unbelievable. Like, I have this little thing that I do, that if I start to watch something, I have to watch it all the way to the end, because there has to be some kind of merit in it. There's only been 1 or 2, I can't even tell you what they were, that I turned off. Because I was like, I can't sit through this. I mean, I have like a gauge that if I watch a film and I look at the clock under 40 minutes, then it's not a very good film. Whereas if I get kind of 40 minutes in and I look over the clock, it's a good film. If I don't look at the clock at all, then it's a brilliant film. And I know it sounds like a really lame way of kind of looking at it, but I mean, in the world that we live in, that's got constant distractions from social media and everything's constantly there, that if you can find something that makes you get sucked into it for the whole time that it's on, an hour and a half to 2 hours, then it's done its job. Whereas if you get kind of distracted before 40 minutes, it's going to be a meh kind of film. Whereas if it's between 40 minutes and the end that you get distracted, it's a fairly good film. So although that sounds like a really random way of looking at it, I mean, next time you watch a film, do it. See how long it takes you to kind of look at your phone, put it on silent, and then see what when you pick up your phone to have a look and stuff like that. So that's the way I gauge it anyway.
The clock test.
The clock test, yes, the official clock test. Maybe I should do a science experiment, get everyone to watch the same sort of films, and that's how we should grade it, rather than this 5-star nonsense. Do it kind of by time, scientifically that way.
Well, we seem to have turned into a bit of a TV show. This
Sorry.
No, review. I mean, everybody in the chat room is offering up their suggestions for TV series.
Please do, especially if they're on Netflix, because I've kind of got to that point on Netflix where I feel like I've watched everything, and now I'm being forced to watch the things with 1 star, and going, oh God, what am I watching? So if anyone's got anything that is worth watching on Netflix that they can recommend, please do. So, yes.
So, yeah, Diane, you've obviously, you're best known for the film One by One. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us a little bit about the other films that you've made or are making, please?
Of course. I mean, I've done... If anyone goes to my website, dianejessiemiller.co.uk, they'll see my body of work, and they can see my show reel, and which you guys lovingly put up. Thank you very much on the sort of work I've done. I mean, I've directed lots of, when I moved to Northern Ireland, I got really lucky to start working with freelancing with a media company, and I did lots of projects working with kids and doing short films with them, things that kind of are just them doing it and kind of goes on their kind of youth group websites and things like that. But off the back of that, I got to create some very cool projects. I got to direct 3 music videos, which I've absolutely loved doing, all very different kind of music as well. But the biggest kind of thing that I did with them was a series called The Gifted. I'm not sure how many of the listeners would be aware of the troubles that happened in Ireland, and there's kind of... in places there's still separation, and there's a place in a town called Portadown where there's a park right in the middle that still separates one side from the other, and people don't really go into the park unless it's to kind of get drunk and do drugs. So there was a massive kind of investment in the park of over 5 million, and part of that investment was to change the way people viewed the park. So I got commissioned by the company to write a piece that would kind of do that and hit the younger teen audience. So I came up with the concept of having a group of teenagers from Portadown, from different walks of life, that were all given superpowers, and they had to use the superpowers to kind of save the world. Which is kind of a standard Marvel kind of idea, but it was something a bit different because it was kind of done with teenagers, and it was kind of done in Northern Ireland. There was nothing done with that. So we shot 3 episodes of that, about 5 minutes each, and that went down really, really well. And we got commissioned to film a second series, and then all 6 episodes got into Belfast Film Festival last year and were shown in a big proper cinema. So that was actually my first thing shown in a proper cinema. So that was really exciting for me personally. I mean, that was so far removed from writing One by One. I think that anyone that kind of know me pre The Gifted saw that I had different levels to where I wanted to go with my writing and my storytelling, because that's essentially what I am. I'm a storyteller. That's what I want to do. I mean, all of those episodes are available on YouTube. They are all on the Facebook page. We love Facebook because everybody knows what everyone's doing, but also because you can put everything up for free. So the Facebook page for that is, I believe, is facebook.com Who Are the Gifted. But again, if you go to my my website. There's links and everything to it, and you can watch, I think, all 6 episodes back to back, run at an hour. So if anybody wants to watch that, that's there. And then I already spoke a bit about Project 100, which we filmed last year, which was 5 interlinking short films. I wrote the first one, and then my partner Martin Lynn wrote the second. I wrote the third, he wrote the fourth, and we wrote the fifth together. And we were really lucky to get kind of, again, local independent filmmakers and actors that wanted to do it and do it for nothing, for food and board, which quite often is the case in indie filmmaking, that people will do it for food and board. And we shot 5 films in 3 weekends, I believe it was, on £500 that we scraped together. God knows how we did it, but we did. So hopefully that will be out this year. That's what I've kind of done today. It doesn't sound like I've done an awful lot, but it takes an awfully long time to kind of formulate an idea and then turn it into something worth watching. I mean, I've got about 5 feature scripts that will never see the light of day because A, they either need 200 million or they're just not very good. So, yeah.
But hopefully, once you get the DVD out there and one by one goes a little bit further, perhaps you'll be able to, you get some money together to be able to fund something, do a different thing, because obviously you'll have a higher profile as well due to one by one.
Well, hopefully, I mean, that's kind of, I made One by One on no money. I don't want to make my next film on no money, and I don't have any. So, I mean, that's part of the process. I mean, I'm going to shoot the short version of my film in October of this year. That's the plan anyway. And then hopefully use that to kind of get people interested in either investing in the project or coming on board, or in that way. I mean, for me, the dream is to be able to give up the other jobs that I do. Not that I don't love them. I teach drama to kids, which is amazing, working with young minds all the time and seeing how they work and keeping me young, I swear. But I don't want to do that forever. I want to spend my life writing and getting out and filming and all that kind of stuff, and have enough money to put food on the table and a roof over my head. And I mean, I don't need much. I don't need much at all. So hopefully that will happen for me. That's what I kind of hope.
Well, it does surprise me after watching One by One that you've not had some approaches from people with money wanting you to do something.
I think because it is so controversial, I think people will sit back and see what happens with it. But then equally, I'm a woman, and without sounding sexist, women don't really get work in this industry. For example, on a crew, if there's 23 people in the crew, only one of them's female, and we still get paid 25% less than men.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, there's been a massive kind of influx at the moment of women. I mean, there's been an outcry about women writers, women directors, women in good, strong leading roles. And there's been this massive outcry for the last kind of year or so, if not longer. And I just don't think women are getting a break. So I don't think I think having breasts and doing a controversial film is kind of is not helping me. But I'm stubborn. I'm a stubborn little shitbag. I won't give up. So
that's what we like to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get anywhere if you give up. If at first you don't succeed, then you're running about average, is what I say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are days where it's hard. There are days where I kind of go, what am I doing? And I feel very blessed to have the family that I do that support me the way that they do, because without them, I think there are times that I would go mad. And my boyfriend's unreal in the way that he supports and encourages me. I think sometimes, I know sometimes I lose sight of what I've done with One by One by creating a feature film and having it released and getting it on DVD. I mean, that's something that people dream of doing. So to have done it is an amazing thing. And sometimes I lose sight of that. And he's very good at reminding me of that, and that why we're doing this, and it's not for shits and giggles. It's because this is the life that we want, and things like that. So, yeah.
When we were talking off air, there was something we discussed briefly, and it surprised me when I read on your website that you now lived in Northern Ireland, and I thought that was a curious choice of somewhere to live. Can you tell us what took you over there?
One by one has led me on many paths. Mm-hmm. There is some music that features in One by One by an artist called Nathan Ball. He did a song called Stand Up, which is an amazing song. It was one of the inspirations behind One by One, to the point where I filmed it on my crappy phone before I went on holiday so I could listen to it to start writing One by One. Because music's a massive influence for me in all my writing. I have to have the right soundtrack to listen to before I write a particular story and things like that. And Nathan happened to be living here at the time. Nathan and I are from the same town, and I get on really well with his mum and her partner, and his mum and her partner were both living here. Nathan was living here as well, and he said to me once I finished filming One by One, because he wrote the song as a song in it called Lily's Lullaby, and it's beautiful. And I asked Nathan to write that, and he agreed to it. And he suggested after we finished filming that I come to Northern Ireland, because I'd actually made myself quite poorly. I was carted off in an ambulance with suspected meningitis. Turns out I had a stress rash and a cold, but I made myself quite poorly. So the idea was that I would come here and work with Nathan on the song for a couple of days and get a well-needed rest. With some fresh sea air and forest air too. So I came over on the 23rd of October 2011, and the only way I can describe it is the moment my foot touched Irish soil, I felt like I was home. It took me 28 hours to get here because of the weather, and I went by train and ferry. I didn't fly or anything like that, so it took me 28 hours to get here, and I felt like once my foot touched the ground that I got home. And then I spent a week here and didn't want to leave, but I went back to England because I was a full-time teacher then, and I came back for Christmas holidays, and then I came back for half term, and then I came for summer holidays, and it was in that summer holidays that I made the decision that I was going to stay. And I was very lucky in the fact that Nathan, who had been living here and living with a wonderful guy, a guy very supportive of artists and musicians, a guy called Tom Newman, who was original producer of Tubular Bells, offered me Nathan's room until I got on my feet, on the promise that I would pursue writing and directing. So that's kind of what I did. I packed up sticks and decided that I was going to move. My mum had got very ill that year. My mum had a stroke in the March of 2012. She was only 54 at the time, sorry. So she had a stroke kind of out of the blue, which kind of gave me and my family a bit of a kick up the arse of, you've got to kind of do what's right for you. So for me, that was it. I sat and spoke to my mum, and she said about, that's what I wanted to do. My mum's always been incredibly supportive of any choice that I've made. So that was that. And then 3 months later, I packed up my life in the back of a friend's car, because I didn't drive at that point, and moved, and I haven't looked back.
So it seems that you've I hate to use this phrase, but you seem to be on some sort of journey.
Yeah,
circumstances are taking you to different places and different situations.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone's on a journey, and it's not the destination, it's the journey itself that you've got to kind of embrace. And every day we get offered choices, and it's about recognising those choices and not being afraid to take them. Moving here, was I terrified? Absolutely. But I always knew I could go back if it didn't work out. And the first 6 months I was here, I kind of went, what am I doing? I need to go back. And then something happened. And I started freelancing for that media company, and I then had another reason to stay. And kind of, yeah, I think that you have to recognise the things that life gives you, and then kind of do something about them if you want to. As to quote Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying.
Mm.
So.
Yeah, well, I've never met anyone yet who's proved to me we visit past this way more than once, although I've had a few hints from time to time. So, you know, you've got this one journey, so you might as well have a damn good go at enjoying it and doing what you want to do.
Exactly. Like you said, you don't know, no one really knows if there's anything next, if there was anything before, or you can kind of be sure of, we can't always be sure of that, is what you can feel, what you can touch, and what you can taste. And I think I'm a very big kind of believer in that. I'm quite spiritual in that sense, that I believe the sun will set and the sun will rise, and as long as those things happen and the seasons change and you kind of approach every day with a positive attitude, good things will happen to you. So it's that kind of outlook that I like to have, I suppose.
Yeah,
a proper hippie, I suppose.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of us are at heart. I know with myself, I led a very, very conventional life as a truck driver for 20-odd years. But once my spinal injury got the better of me and I couldn't do that anymore, it gave me so much time to sit and kind of look at really what was going on in the world. I'd always known things were a bit wrong, but I started looking into it, and then somehow I just drifted into talking on the radio, and I did 1 or 2 shows and then a few more, and then it became something I got involved in full time, and here we are now. So I've had people say to me, "Oh my God, where's it going next?" And I'm saying, I don't know. I'm just on the ride, you know. I don't decide where the ride's going. I'm just enjoying the ride.
Absolutely, and I think that's the right attitude to have. You've kind of, it's like being on a roller coaster. Like it's the whole of your life. It's about not just screaming and holding on for dear life and closing your eyes. It's about seeing what else is around you, and the universe is amazing. It will give you little signs at things you could possibly do, or possibly not do, and it's about kind of being brave enough to embrace them, I think, and not just conforming to convention. So yeah, that's what I think.
Oh, Lee's encapsulated that beautifully. He says, "Live the life you love and love the life you live." Some years ago, but somebody's probably used it before.
Isn't there a song that is it's in a musical? I'm trying to think. I want to say Chicago.
Yeah, I think that's got a song in it.
Yeah, live the life you're living, live the life you like, something like that. Yes, but it is a great kind of. Yes, well done, Lee. Well done, Lee. That is, yeah, exactly the sort of thing that you've got to do.
Oh, yeah. So, we better say hello to poor old Dinny, because Dinny signed into the chat room, but it won't let him post, apparently.
Oh, hello, Dinny.
I'm sure
hello,
he's
Dinny.
Getting very frustrated over there, but don't worry, Dinny. We'll get it sorted out for you soon.
Tony's probably blocked him on purpose. He'll be being all Phil Mitchell on him.
Oh, bless him, bless him. Yeah, but he's dying to ask a question as well.
If you've got any questions, Dinny, you can always send them to me on Skype. I'll read them out for you.
Good old Dinny. So, you're doing the funding for the DVD release. So, when can I expect to see a copy of One by One in my local Woolworths?
Well, Woolworths should have a job, because Woolworths has been shut about 10 years. I don't know, is the short answer. I think getting it onto DVD... I mean, we're in the process of doing the BBFC certification, which is an amazing thing for us. It's kind of... For most people, it's just like a thing you see on a DVD box. But for us, it's like, oh my God, we've got like official stamp of approval kind of thing, and no one can take that away. So that's... I think when I open that box and I've got DVDs in my hand, I think then it will become quite real. Sorry, I'm getting a bit choked.
No, you carry on getting choked. We like this. This is
it's such an amazing thing to be kind of I wish I could share that with the world. That moment of, I don't want to say pride because pride comes before a fall, but that moment of we did exactly what we set out to do, and the next step is to get it into. I'd like to get it into supermarkets. I'd like to get it into Tesco's or Sainsbury's. I think so many people buy their DVDs that way now. That's kind of, that'll be a surreal day, walking into Tesco's or whichever supermarket and seeing it on the shelf and going, I made that. So, but yeah, I mean, it's to get it out to people. I think once these DVDs go out, we're aiming to get them out at June at the latest to people, that I think that again, word of mouth will go, because someone will go, have you seen this film, sit down and watch it, kind of thing. And I hope that's kind of what will happen. So I don't know, our audience grows every single day. There's more and more likes on our Facebook page every single day. And I mean, I have not done any kind of marketing on the crowdfunding campaign for at least 10 days, and yet we're still selling DVDs every day. So there is a demand for it. And that's not because I'm lazy, it's just because I'm really fucking busy at the moment with working and producing other films and trying to get other work out there and stuff like that. So, I mean, I cannot thank anyone that's been involved in sharing it enough. I mean, without everybody and doing shows like this and talking to people and, like I said, people sharing it and talking about it, we wouldn't have the following that we've got. And I can only hope that increases a bit by bit. And I mean, I don't ever think that it's going to break any records, our film. No. Someone said to me on a show a couple of weeks ago that they thought it might become a cult classic, which, oh my God, that's the words you dream to hear as a filmmaker, that your first film will be a cult classic. Who knows? But I think that just it trickling into, it's a slow burner to get it into people's homes and stuff like that. I mean, I'm excited at the fact that we've sold 200 DVDs. So I mean, that to me is like, what? 200 DVDs? This girl had an idea after Vodka and Sambuca, and now she's sold 200 DVDs. A film with Rik Mayall. What? That kind of thing. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah, that's quite an achievement, because most of my ideas that I get after consuming a few beers or whatever happens to be the case, I usually end up getting dirty looks and told to shut the F up.
Brilliant. I think it's... Go on, Jason.
We can see how important it is to you and how much you're invested in it, you know, emotionally and personally. And obviously, I'm gonna go and buy a copy when we're done on here. I'm gonna go and buy a copy because, well, I feel like I ought to, and it really is. I'm gonna buy a copy. I'm gonna give it to somebody else. You know, I think that anybody who's seen it, if you've seen it online at some point, buy a copy and give it to somebody else, because it is. I think it's a great piece of work, and I think as well the trickle. Once people see this and then think, well, hang on a minute, why have they been keeping this away from us? This is Rik Mayall's work, you know. Why has this been hidden from me? And once that you get over that sort of critical mass, and I think it's just going to skyrocket.
Fingers crossed. That would be nice. Yeah, I mean, thank you. I mean, every kind of purchase really helps. I don't want anyone to think that, I mean, it has been claimed that I'm getting rich quick off this. Oh my God, I am not getting rich quick at all. 7 years I've been doing this, and it has cost me more money than I will ever make on it. And I mean, I'm still paying it off. I still make payments every month for some of the money that I got for this film, and that's like I pay that over my rent sometimes, because that's how hard it is some days, but that's because I believe in this film so very much, and every DVD that is bought goes towards paying off everyone that gave us money, and then hopefully give everybody that did did put the time in for nothing, a little something. I mean, I'd love to be able to go to the actors, here's £100, go spoil yourself, go have dinner, because I'm pretty sure most of them have written off any chance of earning any money from this film. I mean, they didn't do it for the money. No one did it for the money. Everyone did it because they wanted to do it. But it would just be nice to be able to kind of give something back to those people that have made this possible, and every DVD that's bought does that. I mean, every kind of penny that is raised through every sale goes towards paying it off or giving them something, and that's why Ash and I have worked so hard, and it has been hard. I mean, I've sent out press releases to every major newspaper and things like that, and we very rarely get a look in. And it's with. I think that, like you said, it's going to be people watching it and passing it on to someone else to watch, and then them buying their own copy, or people talking about it. I think that will be a bit of an influx for us when. Once the DVDs come out to people and they arrive on doormats, people are suddenly going to start watching it again, and they're going to start talking about it again, and then they're going to pass it on and want it back, so that they're going to tell people they have to do it. So, yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm still in debt. I'm still in a massive amount of debt with it, and although I'm chipping away at that each time I work, it still hangs over me, and it's just annoying. We still live in a monetary system, but that is the system we live in, and unfortunately that's what it does. So every person that buys a DVD is helping. That is actually part of the film, is part of getting it out there, because that's what we want fundamentally.
Oh, we've got compliments pouring in from the chat room here. We've got Lee is saying Diane has an honourable ethos.
Thank you.
Luby Lou says, yeah, Lee, she's great, very refreshing. Babushka, good head on her shoulders. And hopefully she'll be blessed with a visit from Fortuna.
Thank you so much, everybody. I mean, it's like I said, I've always said from the start, it's not just my film, it's our film, and that applies to everybody that's kind of, if they've given a £5, if they've watched the film through VOD or bought a DVD, or however they've kind of been part of this whole process. It is ours, it's not mine, and I very much want that to continue. So thank you very much for those lovely comments. I really do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. And I suppose we're coming towards the end of the 2 hours now. We've got a little bit of time left, but can you give out all the links where people can find you and find your work?
Yes, grab pens. You can't have mine because I've thrown it away. But yeah, obviously the first one for One by One, there is a website, all words. It's www.onebyonethemovie.co.uk. And then Facebook is facebook.com/1by1themovie. Basically, if you Googled One by One the movie, we would come up. So on Facebook and on our website. If you want to find out more about me, I have a website, www.dianejessiemiller.co.uk. I also have a Facebook page, but for the life of me I can't remember what the link is right now. But if you search on Diane Jessie Miller, you'll find my page and stuff like that, which has got links to lots of my projects and things like that, if anybody wants to kind of look at those, and or send me messages and things like that. So yeah, I think that's all of them.
Mm-hmm. One thing I did miss from earlier on, and I meant to read it out, when you were talking about possible ideas for the future, one was tossed into the mix there in the chat room from Mithrin, and he said, what about a possible collaboration with Richard D. Hall? Are you familiar with Richard?
I am. I do know Richard D. Hall. I don't know much of his work, if I'm brutally honest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen his website and stuff like that, and I mean, I'd love to talk to him. Because, I mean, he's quite prominent in the, I don't want to say truther movement, but I can't think of a better way to describe it. And I think that, I'd love to talk to him, and who knows? The possibilities are endless.
Yeah, well, I did share the link to this show in the Rich Planet Facebook group, so hopefully some of Richard's contacts will be listening and they'll be able to pass on your details there.
That'd be amazing. That'd be amazing.
Yeah, Richard's a great guy. I've been meaning to get him on the show for ages and have a chat with him, and that's something we'll have to do in the near future. But I know he's been busy touring recently, so he's always absolutely flat out. And like yourself, he works very hard at what he's doing to make ends meet. For anyone who thinks that you're making a fortune out of this, I can only say that we did arrange to do this show a little while back, but unfortunately you had to pull out because you had to go to work, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to go and serve people their food because I still have to waitress to. Sometimes I have to choose between petrol and electric. I mean, that is part of it. If you're going to do this kind of thing, then you have to make little sacrifices, and sometimes those are those. So, yes.
Well, I'm sure people that making claims that you're making a fortune out of it and getting rich quick, I mean, I'm sure there's donks on the internet that think that me and Andy are making money out of this. You should just sort of... you don't really need a thick skin with people like that.
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think sometimes people see what they want to see, and it's hard for them to see anything other than that. Although, that being said, I have spoken to people that have thought that I was rolling in it, and have then, once I've talked to them, and I mean, I've always worn my heart on my sleeve, and I've always been very honest about... the details behind making One by One and stuff like that, that I think they suddenly realise that I am what I am and I'm not a bullshitter. I mean, I was recently called a fraud, and after talking to the woman, she suddenly went, I take it back. So, I mean, you can't blame people necessarily for thinking I'm rolling in it. Anyone else that's made a film looks like they're rolling in it. I mean, look at like 200 million on films, 200 million on a film, kind of thing. It's that money is unfathomable. So I think there's a very big divide between that and what I do. So.
Well, on the subject of Richard D. Hall, Babushka said Richard will reply to your email if you email him. He's very decent like that, and I can vouch for that. I've emailed him several times, always get a response from him. And he's a real nice guy when you meet him. Surprising enough for someone who does a TV show, though, he's quite shy.
You sometimes find that. You sometimes find that extroverts are really introverted. I mean, like, my mum refers to them as extrovert introverts. Like, once they're on stage or on screen, they have this persona, but when the cameras stop rolling and the lights are down, they become very quiet and very still. And I think that does happen a lot with people. It's quite hard being kind of, as you probably both know, constantly talking for 2 hours and trying to entertain, because that's essentially what we're trying to do, be informative. We're still trying to entertain. That it can be quite exhausting afterwards. And I would say that anyone that kind of does this then goes away and sits very quietly in a dark room, rocking back and forth. So,
yeah. But when you say people that are, extrovert and usually introvert, I mean, we're getting towards the end of the show. I mean, we'll go back to Rik. If we, finish off just with a few things about him. I mean, that doesn't describe him, does it? I mean, he genuinely was on all the time. Or he did appear to be, anyway.
He did appear to be. I would say Rik was one of the best extroverts I ever met. He was always on point and ready to entertain, but I was very lucky to spend an afternoon with Rik after cameras had stopped rolling in his house in London. And we talked about love, believe it or not. We didn't talk about anything else. We talked about the industry, really, and he gave me little tips. And then he walked me back to the train station to get a train home, and we talked about my love life. And he was very still, very quiet and very calm. And, I mean, that afternoon I had with Rik, I will always remember and always hold very dear to my heart, because, yeah, he was amazing in every way.
Well, yeah. I mean, for someone who perhaps only ever seen Bottom, you could probably think, oh, quite a shallow character. But I've watched everything I could get my hands on that he'd done, and if you watch his other stuff, then he does seem to be quite a deep person. I mean, I know it's acting most of the time, but a little bit of the real person usually shows through, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's really important. I mean, anyone that knows me will tell you that I'm bubbly and don't shut up and yada yada yada. But then if you were to ask my mum and my sisters and my boyfriend, I sit very still and very quiet a lot of the time, because sometimes that's what I need to charge my batteries in order to be that kind of bright, bubbly person. That's not saying I'm not bright and bubbly when I'm quiet. I'm just simmering rather than bubbling. So it's that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, from my own personal experience, I must be an absolute nightmare to live with. I'm just totally unpredictable. We'll do the most ridiculous things for the most ridiculous reasons, but also I also have another side of me, and really when I need to be on my own, I need to be on my own. You know,
I understand. I think we talk about, for example, yin and yang, that yin needs yang, and I don't think that necessarily refers to two different people. I think that refers to us as individuals. We can be at the high, but we need the low to balance it out. Life is all about balance, and my grandfather would say everything in moderation, and to moderate energy, if you're going to have massive expelling of energy, you've then got to have quiet time to replenish that energy. So I think that within all of us, we're all a bit yin and yang, and we're all a bit extrovert and we're all a bit introvert, and even if we're just extrovert in our bedroom singing into our hairbrushes, we're all extrovert in our own individual ways. So, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked to friends quite a lot lately about the emotional roller coaster that seems to be going on for so many people. I know with us, we've had some massive highs followed almost seconds later by really low lows. Someone very kindly gave us a car. They were supportive of what we were doing and gave us a car. Wow. Since I came out of work, I never thought I'd own a car again, but that happened. And then the day I got home from collecting the car, I found out that Jason was in hospital with a heart attack, and I just couldn't believe it. Went from ecstatic happiness to tears of sadness, just like that. And so many things seem to be happening just lately, but I suppose that perhaps is part of that balance in life that we all need.
I mean, you do have to have balance, and I do think that when we have moments of wonderfulness, the terribleness keeps us in check and makes us appreciate that. I mean, if we had wonderful all the time, then we would never appreciate what wonderful was. And I mean, everybody has their own tragic tale to tell, and everyone's been through events in their life that has shaped or changed them, and I think it's those moments that make them appreciate the good moments. I mean, I definitely think that is for me, and although I would never wish tragedy on anybody ever, I think that you need tragedy to appreciate the wonder of this life. So that's the philosophy of Diane Jessie Miller, anyway.
That's fabulous.
What a beautiful philosophy. I'm sure everybody wishes you lots and lots of goodness, good karma, all the good things in life.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. It's been really lovely doing the show. I didn't know if I was going to be able to fill the 2 hours. When I sent an email earlier, I was like, 2 hours? You want me to talk for 2 hours? Oh, God. I did have a little panic. But, I mean, like you said, it has flown, and I've really enjoyed it. And I want to thank everybody that's sent in questions. They've been really lovely, and I can almost feel your energy and your positiveness coming to me all the way in Northern Ireland. So thank you very much to everybody on the chat room. I'm going to try and remember their names now. You've got Dinny, you've got John, you've got Shamu. Have I said that right?
Babushka.
I'm trying. I'm really bad with names. But thank you, everybody that kind of has sent questions in and stuff like that. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you to everybody for listening. And before we go, I'd just like to say that we've got a day off tomorrow, which is quite nice this week because it's been pretty busy. But we're back on Friday, and we've got Gary Hazeltine, former British Transport Police detective, who's compiled the Prufos database, police officers reporting UFOs. And also he's started UFO Truth magazine, so hopefully we'll be finding out the latest on UFO developments in the UK on Friday from 8 o'clock. So thank you very much, Jason and Diane.
Thank you.
Cheers, Andy. Thanks. Thank you very much for coming on, Diane.
Thank you very much, and I hope to speak to you both again soon.
That will be great. You're welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone, and good night.